So, hi everybody, my name is Michal Hrusecky, and last year I got my new phone. This is it. And it's really amazing, and I'm going to talk about it here. So let's start with a little bit about history, what this phone is about and where it comes from. So let's start with ancient history. Back in the days, there was something called Sharpsaurus. It was one of the first PDAs. I think it was the first PDA that was based on Linux. It was second? Okay. What was the first? No, this was before the iPacs. iPacs were building on top of the UI that Sharp had. So it was using Linux kernel, and it was using Qt-based UI. It was called Qtopia. Then there were some people porting this UI and Linux in general to their devices, like mentioned iPacs. And then came Nokia and started doing these Linux tablets. It was running some Debian-like system. It had a GTK-based UI, and they gradually evolved into cell phones, and they created something called MeeGo, and that was the last step of their evolution, and then something else happened. What happened next was they got new CEO, and the CEO was former head of some business division at Microsoft, and Nokia made a deal with Microsoft, and they stopped all the development of the Linux phone, started promoting their Windows phones, and pretended that Linux never happened and never was there, and they got rid of all the people that were working on it. At least that's what I gathered from the outside. Might be there are some mistakes. And then these people that got out from Nokia and they were working on these Linux phones that they liked, they started a new company and called it Jolla. And they started working on this phone. It was possible to pre-order it last year in May, and they started shipping it in December. So few people who were trusting them enough sent their money in May and hope that they will get something back for the Christmas. So what did we get? Hardware-wise is something not exceptional, but also nothing really slow. 2 cores, ARM v7, gigabyte RAM, and all the usual stuff. What is really cool about the phone is actually the software. And let's start with the basics. Root file system is Btrfs. Many distributions are not brave enough to use Btrfs as a default. We are one of the exceptions. It's using Wayland. I don't think there is a distribution that is already brave enough to put it as a default. We are slowly getting there on desktop. Btrfs is a little bit further away. And it uses systemd as most of the modern distributions. And it also ships with Qt 5.1 with some JIT snapshots. And intention is to end up at Qt 5.2, but it's not there yet. And one cool thing is that they actually have Android VM, this Java VM, or it's actually Dalvik VM running there, So you can actually run native Android application on your phone, and it kind of integrates. It doesn't behave like a native application, but it integrates quite good. You can just download APKs, install them, and they will run. You can install most of the applications that you could install on any Android device. Issues are that multitasking works differently in Android, so it doesn't integrate with multitasking on Jolla, and there are also some small issues like accessing contact lists. Your Android applications actually can't access your local contacts on your Jolla, which is actually kind of good, I would say. And like that. Another part of Sailfish, that's the name of the operating system, is that is based on the Nemo, which is open source project, open source successor to Migo, as far as I remember. And the company behind is committed to do regular updates. They are currently doing updates every month. So every month you get new bug fixes and new features. So it's really evolving, and yeah, every month you get a bunch of surprises, mostly pleasant ones. And yeah, that's what I like about Linux in general, that I'm always tracking some new versions and I'm getting new features every day. Yay. And the whole system is just gesture-based. So it's not about clicking small buttons somewhere, but about swiping around. What's not so cool about this phone is it has pretty ancient kernel. That's because they are a small company. They just entered the market, and they explained that it was really difficult for them to get hardware vendors to work with them. So their solution was actually kind of cool. They told the hardware vendor, we don't need real Linux adaptation, just prepare us the Android adaptation, and they made wrappers around it. So they are using Android kernel and made wrappers around it so they can use Android drivers in Wayland and basically use the Android adaptation layer that they got from hardware vendor. Also, there is also quite old GCC. They are working on new one, and the UI is actually closed source. That's one big disadvantage. Now, when I spoke about UI, let's take a look at how you can write applications for it. Native applications are written in C++ and Qt and QML. For me, it's kind of nice because I can finally write applications for my cell phone in C++. That's nice. I don't have to touch ugly Java that I don't like. The little bit nasty part is that you can't actually avoid Qt and QML parts. All UI should be in QML, and to get stuff to QML, you have to go to Qt. And yeah, I love Qt. I used it as a library to help me with many things, but I don't like being forced to use it for everything. I like to use libraries that are using STL. And also, not all APIs are considered stable yet, which means that there are parts of the phone that you can access, but if you do that, you cannot get into official store. For example, one issue is GPS location. You cannot get access to that and get to the official store. That's why there are unofficial stores, which actually doesn't have any QA, and anybody can do pretty much anything, which is also on other side of the spectrum. So there are packages that are installing some files into sudoers and stuff like that. So you have to be cautious about that file. And the other way how you can submit applications to Jolla is you write Android application, and because it has pretty good Android layer, you actually can install the Android applications. And actually there is this trick that Android has stable API, so you can access even this GPS location that you cannot access natively, at least in official store. The other important part about Jolla, there's actually one really exciting hardware part, and it's the other half. These back covers, they are made in different colors, and they are replaceable. And to make it more interesting, they are a little bit more than just a colorful cover. They have RFID tags that you can, so the phone automatically recognizes what cover did you put on. So it can read the color of that cover and download a theme that will match the cover. So when you replace the cover, also your OS will adapt to the same color, so it will match the cover. And what's more interesting for people that like to play with hardware is that it actually has access to I2C, and it has power in and power out. So you can actually charge your phone from the cover, and you can charge additional accessories that are in the cover and communicate with them via I2C. This image is the back of the cover, and you can see here are the pins for I2C and power output, and here is the power input. And part of the phone is also SDK, where you can find descriptions how this stuff works, and also 3D model, so you can print out your covers. Actually, my friend printed a 3D cover, printed on 3D printer a cover for me, but unfortunately I forgot it at the hotel. So tomorrow I will bring it, and if you are interested, you can take a look at it. We are still iterating, and it's not perfect yet, but I feel that the first iteration will be really great and will fit. So now a little bit more about the other halves, what people actually did. One of the cool improvements was somebody actually created the cover with built-in solar panel. So he can just turn his phone around, put it on the sun, and recharge his battery. And other thing is that plenty of people were actually missing hardware keyboard, because yeah, people like to SSH from their phone, they like to code on their phone and stuff like that. So somebody actually made the cover with QWERTY keyboard, so you can actually pull down the full QWERTY keyboard and start writing. That's thanks to I2C. And as I was speaking about development, developer's mode is just a click away. It's actually one of the settings in the cell phone. You just browse to the settings, and there is a developer mode. So you click on it, it says, hey, it's dangerous, don't do that. If you know what you are doing and you really want to do that, click yes. And once you click yes, it will root your phone, install some more utilities that you might find helpful. And since then, you have SSH available, you have SU available, you can be root on your device, you can install Zipper, and you can play with whatever you want. Yeah, operating system is RPM based. And they actually have public OBS instance, that you can use to build packages for your cell phone. And what I also tried is installing OpenSUSE into changeroot. So as there are not so many utilities for the Sailfish already, I installed ARM OpenSUSE, so I have plenty of packages now. And that was this part. If you have questions, I can answer them now. And in the rest of the time, I will show you actually how it looks like in Emulator, the system. So any questions right now? No? So let's go to the Emulator. This is, oh, yeah. Test? Okay. So, this is the home screen, how it looks like when you unlock or power up your phone. And Jolla is vertical based, so I will just swipe down and it will show up the applications that I've got running. These are just minimized applications. What you can see out of them now is called cover. And these covers can be, if you don't provide the cover, it will be running picture of your application. Actually, it will be scaled down your application with everything that is on there. But you can replace it with something that is actually more useful, because if I put there big screen and just scale it down, it will be hard to read. So you can just pinpoint some information. For example, I have load and uptime in one of the applications shown. The other part is that these covers can also be used to do some actions, like the cover on the right. I will just drag it to one side, and now I did some action that is defined in the application. So without actually opening the application full screen, I can do some basic stuff. If I click on it, it will maximize. There is no home or back button, as you are used to from Android. Back is done actually by swiping to the left. And if I want to go home, I will just swipe from outside of the screen, and it will minimize the application. If I swipe down from the up, which is basically from outside of the screen, then it will close the application. And if I swipe from down, from outside of the screen, I broke it. That doesn't happen on the phone. I'm not sure what to do with it now. Yeah, it should have brought up the notifications. Now, let's see if I will manage to recover it. Yep. I'm back. Now, applications doesn't also have this menu button that you are used to from Android. Menus are also used a little bit differently. You will just pull down, not from outside of the screen, and it will show up the menu. And by releasing, you would actually select the option that is highlighted. So I switch apps only, and it will show all processes. And if you want to run applications, after this home screen with the covers, you can scroll down and there is the rest of your applications. Unfortunately, in Emulator, I don't have that many that will overflow, but on my cell phone, I have multiple other screens full of applications. So that was the quick demo. If you are interested more, I think I have tomorrow some lightning talk about how to write applications for this OS. I will show you how to do it in Qt Creator and show you what's this QML about and some basics. So thank you for your attention, and do you have questions now? Yeah, I think Oliver was first.
Is the gesture support open sourced or in the closed source part?
Gestures are part of the UI, and that's closed source part.
My question is, if I want to get it, that phone, what I should do right now, because...
Yeah, okay. You should go to shop.jolla.com, and they are selling the phone. They will ship it to you. Currently available only in Europe, and it costs, I think, 400 euros, which is, I know, not really cheap, but it's really cool. Okay.
Did you say that it uses Zipper by default, or is that just for?
It uses RPM and it uses stat solver, but it uses package config by default for their store, and other stores they are using package config, but you can install Zipper. It's available in the repositories.
And also, what are the reasons for the restrictions on their app store and on the API? Like GPS, that kind of.
Yeah, the restrictions are there because the API in Qt is not marked as stable, or was not marked as the stable, and might change in the future. And they didn't want it to, well, basically force everybody to adapt their applications when they go to the final Qt 5.2, where it should be stable. So that was their reasoning for not stabilizing some of the APIs. But they are going to stabilize them, and I saw on mailing list they are going even to provide more. Like they are working on providing options to write applications in Python, and I saw some discussions about SDL. So once they consider these APIs stable enough, they might be able to enter the official store. Currently, they are available in an unofficial one. Yep.
One addition to the question, how can you get it? Normally at every open source conference you can get a promo code. I don't remember, was it 10 or 20%? I'm surprised you can't get one here. I can contact them this evening. I'm not sure how flexible they are, whether we will have one tomorrow, but I will try. So if you're seriously interested, ask me tomorrow what was the result.
Is there a way to run an X server on it, or any, let's say, desktop environment, or just a minimal with?
Well, X server in.
And sorry, additional after that, is there something that you can dock it into and maybe connect it to HDMI or a screen?
Okay, so HDMI, I haven't seen it yet. And I doubt, because I don't think that it will pass through I2C. And for the X server, it's running standard Wayland. So, and most modern toolkits are supporting Wayland. I think GTK and Qt already do. And GNOME 3 supports it also. I think Plasma as well. So it's just a matter of time till they will mature enough, or just try to compile them with Wayland support, and then it should be possible to run them on Jolla, because it already has the Wayland. Other option is, I think there is a way how to run X applications in Wayland, but I don't know much about it. I haven't tried it. And the issue with running pure X would be that you will be missing all the drivers for graphical card, and therefore most of the acceleration. So yeah, they wrote a wrapper to support Wayland, but they didn't care about X that is going to die soon. Maybe.
So which GPU is it on that Snapdragon thing?
I don't remember, sorry.
Okay.
But we can take a look after the talk.
Yeah.
Or, well, after the talk, I have another talk. But yeah, we can meet during the conference and take a look.
Because I've used the N900 for years, which is nice. And as you say, it's the predecessor, the last phone you could do this kind of thing with. And the only, let's say, one big disincentive from my point of view is that it's RPM stuff. You know, it isn't bad. It's just that I don't know all that, and I don't really want to have to learn it just to put apps on my phone.
Well,
but apparently, going to teach me tomorrow, so maybe that problem is solved.
Yeah, well,
And OBS
for RPM stuff, they actually one other thing that they don't like in the store is dependencies. Yeah. They actually encourage you to bundle everything because that's the proprietary app store thingy. And actually, I think some Docker guys or virtualization guys actually are thinking about the same direction, like bundle everything. And yeah, you should give RPM a try. I tried Debian packaging, and I will tell you that yeah, spec files are heaven compared to what you have to endure every day.
Fair enough.
I was wondering if there, you knew of any plans for a hardware refresh. Like, are they planning
I don't know about any official plans, but what I know is that they are working on porting Sailfish to existing devices because they have this Android adaptation layer, and there's already some experimental ports to Nexus 4 and Nexus 1. These are without the Android VM because they license it from somebody, and this is due to licensing reason they cannot tell anybody to do it, and I don't think these ports are official yet, but people from community made them, and it's possible to try it even on other devices. And I think they plan to go with that way as well. At least they showed some beta of Android launcher that simulates this behavior. And yeah, they said that they want to go this way. If you are able to run Cyanogen mod, then at some point in the future you might be able to run Sailfish without this Android layer with native applications. But native applications are getting better every day, and there is quite some of them already, and I'm able to do most of my stuff inside the native applications. What I use Android for is games.
Okay, that's interesting. We only have 2 minutes.
In follow-up to the Debian package install, when N900 changed to MeGo, and there was the change from Debian to RPM, I think there was an application called Foreign that allowed you to install Debian package to the RPM-based system. I would not be surprised if you can still compile that and it would work, but I don't know, but that would be a way to go for you.
Yeah, but in general, if you are writing new applications for Sailfish, the spec file that you need is really simple. And actually Qt Creator will create it for you, so you don't have to bother. Okay, so thank you, and see some of you tomorrow on my other talk about developing applications. And if you have any more questions or want to play with it, catch me at the conference.